Today's date is January 15th, 2012, and my name is Leslie Williams, and I'm making this video file today, to help people understand what is happening towards us targets and why it's happening and how it's brought about. It's all over the GangStalker Confesses manifesto that you can find by going to Google and typing in the GangStalker Confesses. It's a literal manifesto concerning how a gangstalker picks their targets, how gangstalking expeditions pick their target, how they label their targets, and who they're connected to, okay, and in part how they operate. Now what we have to understand here is this is nothing but exploitation. It's racketeering in order to be able to take legal custody of a target to exploit what they got. And a good preliminary way to understand, now this is actually part 2 of what I said that there's a previous video. And at the end of that video, I stated that I was going to title these videos Learning Disabled Woman Being Gangstalked in San Diego. It's actually going to be titled, Why is a Learning Disabled Woman Being Gangstalked in San Diego? And here it goes. To give you an introduction about how these people work, understand this. In the manifesto, it literally flat out says they're a mutual for-profit organization, which means everybody that they're mutually involved with gets a cut off the money that's made of a target. They're syndicated within social services, the fire department, the EMS, privately owned EMS companies, doctors that have their own private practices, social security workers, counseling mental health, and doctors from hospitals. Probate lawyers, probate judges, syndicated members within the prosecutor's office and DA's office, and syndicated members that are literally in the court environment, okay, like city clerks, county clerks, and so on and so forth, and even court officers, which are nothing but police officers for the courts. And all of this is done and being expedited towards a target in order to be able to create destitution of a target to then exploit the destitution. And how do they do that? A good way to see actually what they're involved in is to do two things. Go to Google right now and type in 4 mentally disabled people kept in a basement in Philadelphia for 11 years. Okay? That was a person who did that to them. Was a syndicated individual. She already had power of attorney over those 4 mentally disabled people. She also had the identification cards of 50 other people on disability. Understand this and be clear. This is literally how they operate. Okay? It's organized crime within the system, using their job descriptions in order to contain a target, in order to exploit a target's finances, their Medicare, their finances meaning Social Security check, their Medicare, and then to exploit them sexually. And it's all done, the documentation is accumulated through social services workers, members of charities like Salvation Army, police officers, and fire department EMS, and privately owned EMS personnel, and corrupt psychiatrists. It flat out says who they're connected to in the manifesto. So how do they do this? They'll literally rent apartments that are adjacent to a target in order to harass a target on a non-stop basis through the modes and methods of gangstalking. Google right now, gangstalkers rent apartments adjacent to targets. Gangstalkers are rent apartments that are next to target. Google also, and YouTube also, electronic harassment and remote neuromonitoring. The whole goal is to create destitution of a target, okay? But it's also, the schemes are brought about to let a target rent an apartment, okay? Target goes down to social services and tells them, I got an apartment, I'm renting it, this is how much I'm paying for rent. As a result, food stamp allotment is adjusted. Then Target is eventually evicted from the apartment through schemes they bring about in cooperation with the landlord, property owner, and in reference to the harassment that's perpetrated towards a target in the apartment building, which eventually causes a target to want to leave by the time they steal their rent, even rent that's mailed, certified mail return receipt. As a result of the non-stop harassment and even break-ins of a target's apartment, a target will end up leaving an apartment by the time they steal the rent. They'll just say, screw this, I've been through 10 months to a year of non-stop harassment, they've been threatening to steal my rent, I've been getting eviction notices based on rent they were supposed to have gotten in the mail that was normally mailed, return receipt, okay? And they'll delay that from getting there, making the target believe that the rent is actually going to be stolen, because they're constantly soliciting that you're going to be evicted in the months of while you're there, to make you hyper-vigilant that they're actually going to do it. And then they actually do it. And so by the time they actually do it, you just say, screw this. Between the harassment, the physical breaks in, they even poison your food after breaking in when you're gone, and then they eventually actually physically steal the rent. Google GangStalker mail theft and mail deployment. So by the time they actually steal the rent, the target is already ready to move because they're sick of the crap. Okay? Once they leave, okay, what they'll do is then notify their caseworker at social services that they've left. They in turn will write down documentation and keep the patterns of the target's living situations over time in their files. Okay, and then over time, target rents multiple apartments and then has to leave. Target goes down and asks for help as a result of being homeless in between the apartments. And then this documentation is deliberately tweaked and falsified by the syndicated social services workers because they're trying to paint a picture that Target keeps renting apartments and leaving. Target keeps being periodically homeless. What's going on with this Target? The whole picture they try to paint is that Target cannot stay in one place, and as a result, we're deeming the Target mentally not able to take care of themselves because they keep leaving their home and then being homeless, and then renting a home and then leaving it, being homeless, renting a home, an apartment, which is home, and then leaving and being homeless. The whole goal is to accumulate documentation over time that the Target cannot take care of themselves. This documentation is also combined with the false mental diagnoses that a target is deliberately given by their syndicated doctors. Like if a target breaks down and calls 911, because they'll even put gang stalkers in your life to infiltrate your life through friendly means in an acquaintance type fashion, and then had them dupe the target into believe that if they go to the hospital they can possibly get help for social services help, like help with rent, help with getting an apartment, and then possible help with rent. They've already tried that with me. The whole goal is to try and bait a target to go to hospitals and social services, okay, and charities, because all three work together for the accumulated documentation, including also for police officers. Because the whole goal, again, is to create accumulated documentation, because the documentation that is accumulated is brought before a syndicated judge using a syndicated probate lawyer to petition the state to take control of the target. And this is done because once they got legal control of the target, they exploit the target's Social Security check monthly, the Medicare that's exploited. And how do they do that? Once they got syndicated control of a target, they stage all kinds of events, incidences, accusations, and assaults in these homes. Then they're staged. Then they blame the target for the incident. They then say this target has to go to the hospital because they're out of control, they're causing all these problems, they need to get on better medication. So they'll petition the target into the hospital. It's a staged incident that's brought about so they can make it look like they have a reason to petition the target to the hospital. That's done to build the Medicare. Okay? Out of thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars each and every time they do it to a target in these homes. Once that money is sent from Medicare back to the syndicated billing, it's then pipelined back to the doctor and to the person who runs the home and a couple people that played a direct role in making sure the incident was brought about. Then they try to exploit the target sexually in these homes. Literally. So they get the monthly Social Security check, they're bilking the Medicare through these staged incidences in the home while discrediting the target after the staged incident is brought about and they petition the target in the hospital where the Medicare bilking is done. While they're in the hospital, they're deliberately given another false diagnosis for two reasons: to make it look like the Medicare was billed for legitimate purposes and to discredit the target in case the target ever finds a way to get help and becomes a whistleblower. They then take these false mental diagnoses and try and justify why the target was contained to begin with, and to discredit the target's complaints about what actually happened to them. And these are the little schemes of what they do. It's a mutual for-profit organization where they make money. The people that bring about these schemes, or the money that's made off of the exploitation of the target through these means, is pipelined back to the mutual people, the more than one person that played a role in it. And this is literally what they're doing, okay? The money is actually deliberately kicked back to the social services worker that played a role in it, to the doctors that played a role in it, okay, to the people that run the syndicated group homes that played a role in it, and to a couple of the people that aided and abetted in the actual incident they deliberately created. This is literally what they do. It's nothing but literal torture for money. Literally, flat out. I can't get no help because these syndicated freaks are infested within the system, the very places I should be able to go to and get legitimate help. I can't, because every time I run to the system for help, they don't do nothing but accumulate documentation to contain me, to exploit me. And this is literally what they do. They're doing this to the elderly, they're doing this to people on disability, they're doing this to people on Asperger's, autism, and I'm talking about people that are on disability for anxiety disorders and depression disorders, because they're syndicated within Medicare and in Social Security. So you take a reason why a person's on disability, like say if a person's on disability for anxiety, what they'll do is literally, they take that profile, and they'll develop schemes to deliberately create anxiety in a target in order to be able to aid and abet in breaking the target down. Then the target breaks down, goes to the hospital, and they'll deliberately put them on medication that has a side effect of anxiety, throw them back out on the street in the hands of the gang stalkers who are deliberately there to create anxiety, because it's all about breaking the target down through all these multiple anxiety-producing means, because they want the target to break down so they can go back and call 911 again, and then that's where they'll break the Medicare again. It's nothing but torture for money. Literally. I mean, I can't find another way to flat out say it. The individual that had a hold of these 4 mentally disabled people, okay, in Philadelphia, you would not believe what they were doing to those 4 mentally disabled people, okay? You would not believe it. And she had the identification cards of 50 other people. They also are involved in human experimentation. Now, when you hear that, you might think to yourself, what? What the hell is that? Let me help you understand something. Remote neural monitoring. All right, now I gotta look at this. Hang on a second. Look at this. What people have to understand is just go to that PDF file that can be found at www.freedom-from-covert-harassment and surveillance. It's on the bottom of their webpage. They did nothing but take technology that was developed by the military and literally funnel it into organized crime that is in our communities, in each and every community. And we're talking about organized crime members that are syndicated to police officers, firefighters, doctors, county mental health, social services workers. It literally flat out in this PDF file that I just got done showing you, it literally flat out says they got social services workers that are involved. Okay, as far as them actually being also NSA agents. Now when people think to themselves, NSA, give me a break, this is just too much to believe. Well, let me ask you a question. Why the hell is remote neural monitoring all over the internet as far as YouTube and Google, and how it's being deliberately used for organized crime expeditions, if it's with what I'm saying are not factual realities? Okay, so anybody who views these videos for the first time and witnesses what I just took a video picture of in reference to this, what they have to do is do the research to see how it's been trickled down to organized crime, and how it's been trickled down to the wealthy, to corporations, to organized crime. And these organized crime members have members within the system. It's organized crime within the system, and they're not doing nothing but treating people like straw people in order to be able to make money off of what they got, okay? Their Social Security checks. They put people in their homes. In one home, they'll hold anywhere between 7 to 15 people who are on Social Security. They take custody of their Social Security checks and literally take custody of them and use it to pay the mortgage of multiple homes they have. Once these mortgages are paid off, they then sell it to flip the profit, okay? While they're pocketing the money from the remaining 11 to 12 other targets they have in one home. They're not doing nothing but using people as straw people. In other words, I gotta hurry up and state this. This is almost 15 minutes long and YouTube only allows 15 minutes. They're basically treating people as nothing but Social Security numbers to use them for the funds that they can apply for in their names by getting a hold of them. This is literally what's happening to me, and I can't get no help because of the simple fact they're infested within the system. And as far as the human experimentation, remote neural monitoring maps you neurally, and they sell that research to research facilities, behavioral studies, and so on and so forth. I gotta stop this so it can be a YouTube video.